Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today I'm smiling big time. And people are saying, so why are you smiling, Dre? Pretty simple. I love it when hometown favorites come and embrace their presence on my show. And today is no exception to the rule. Let me explain this young man's career. You talk about movies. I'm looking at some of these names. Gambling with Life, 2016. Gangster's Daughter, Part 3. Damn, I hate to see what Part 1 and Part 2 look like. 2024. Preaching Lies, 2020. Pretty from a Girl, 2019. And let's not even forget the Harper and Color Purple, something about the Oprah Winfrey connection, 2013. And get real. This resume is, and I left out the most important part too, Empire.
Oh man.
Damn, how can a brother get on?
Look, man.
Today on the show, I'm blessed, and it shows you how the universe works, because we didn't realize we had a mutual friend who, unfortunately, her mom just passed less than an hour ago. Our hearts go out to Valerie and yes, her family today, but yeah, it shows you how the universe works. You know, one friend happened to know another friend, and I remember getting this phone call maybe a couple of weeks ago, and Valerie was like, "Hey, Dre, pick up the phone, go to WhatsApp app. I got a surprise for you." And no other than the one, the only Indiana's own Lyndell Izzy Campbell's in the house. What's up, big dog?
What's up, man? What's going on?
Man, I wish I had your life right now.
I mean, it looks like you doing good, man. You doing good.
Yeah, but I want to be part of these movies and all that. Before we get to all these great achievements that you've done, tell the viewers a little bit about you. We know that you grew up here in Indiana, but tell a little bit more about who you are.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, shout out to Indianapolis, man. Indianapolis really, really raised me in ways that I didn't anticipate. Indy will always be home. I have Michigan roots, so I came by way of Michigan. Made it to Indiana 2001, and so really I've just been plugged into Indianapolis, ever since. So no matter if I go to Atlanta for a movie or I go to Chicago for anything, like it just. There's Indiana's just with me. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm just a regular. I would say I'm a regular guy, man. But I honestly, hearing you read that off, it's one thing to know, like what you've been a part of and privileged to be a part of, but to hear it read off, it's like, okay. It's like, all right.
I get it, because you're probably so busy that you don't really get a chance. Let me put it like this, Izzy. You probably don't really get a chance to embrace the flowers from your fan base, because you're constantly going from one project to the other, that you have to be able to pivot at any given moment in your career.
Yeah. Yeah, and I appreciate those flowers, man. I really do, and definitely, again, at the inception of this, flowers to definitely go out to Val, for sure. And that loss is a major thing. So, but yeah, that's about me. Really, that's what it is. I would say having a caregiving spirit, a caregiving heart, and even though I didn't grow up in Hollywood,
right.
I'm one of those. I have a praying grandmother. I put it that way,
right.
And I would say she's probably and most likely, put up some prayers for a brother. She's 94 years old, so I know she's been praying for me for a minute. So that is really if I could say anything, that would be the root of who I am. You know, of course, I love art,
Right.
singing, doing all that stuff, but yeah,
Now you said you came to Indiana by way of Michigan. So
yeah.
what what was the events that brought you to Indianapolis for such a long period of time?
You want the
I want the I want
you
the
want
tr- I
the
don't want the
raw.
Hollywood edition. I want the real stuff.
Man, so I went to school in Buffalo, New York. And you know, me and one of my best friends, man, we went up there for basketball. And I didn't know, I didn't realize that college and high school were two different worlds, to say the least. Nobody in college babysits you,
Right.
right? Nobody's going to say, hey, it's time to get up, son. It's time to, no, no. If you got classes that you schedule, then that's pull up.
Yeah.
But I had I failed successfully my first year of college in Buffalo, New York. So I had to go back to Michigan. And I almost ended up in the army. I almost ended up in the army. And I was okay. I was okay with it because I'm like, you know, I'm stubborn in the sense of, you know, I'm not gonna let something, you know, break me. If I know what a job is,
Right.
it's like, okay, then all right, the army it is. Let's get to it. At least I'll, you know, stay in shape and, you know, I'll be somewhere where I am actively doing something. But once I came up like 1 point short on the ASVAB test, which is an entry test, right, that you have to take to get in, I
Right.
was just like, all right, God, I guess this ain't it for me. But I'm competitive too. I'm like a silent competitor. So I took the test again and I came up like 2 points short. Then I was like, you know what? I'm like, it's not meant to be.
Right.
So my aunt who lived in Indianapolis, I had visited Indianapolis a couple years prior, and I was there for the summer. And I was like, yo, I'm like, let me see what Indy talking about.
Right.
And I think June 2001, I made that transition, and you know, like it was a wrap from there.
Let's go back a minute. You mentioned basketball, college. So you was playing college basketball?
Yeah, I had a chance to play, and you know, when you're a freshman, you either you know, good, or you have a lot of learning to do. And I definitely had a lot of learning to do because organized basketball and street ball, they're like completely different. And I'm like, I could not get it together. I was like, man, you want to run plays? I'm like, man, just let me play like how I play, but that's not how in life. And you learn over time, right?
Right.
Organization, you know, is how you really get things done. So yeah, I was there for a
How
little
did you
bit.
even get there, Izzy? Like, did you get a scholarship to go where you're a walk on? Like you mentioned structure and
Yeah.
following the difference between, you going there as a street baller and, college. Didn't How did you even get there? Did you get a scholarship or somebody? How did that even transpire?
You know, honestly, I had no idea that this college in particular even existed because, you know, your last year of school and my high school time, like my time in high school, um, I played sports, but you know, it wasn't like you know, a star or anything like that. I pretty much was just a kid just trying to find his way,
Okay.
and I don't know how me and my best friend came across this college. Shout out to Hilbert, and you know, I didn't know anything about it, but we both got wind of it. I would say he was better at basketball than me, especially like organized basketball. You know, he could do it. You know, he could do street ball and he could do that. And so I think he heard of it, and then I was just like, yo, I'm like, you know, what's up? What do I need to do? I think we both had to like write a letter or something like that to, you know, try to get in. But it was I don't think it was scholarship based, but but it might have been because you know I was broke, so I don't remember coming out of my
They had to see something potential
that
in you. But when you decided
they
to
saw
leave,
something.
to go to Indianapolis and stuff after all of these different opportunities from military to basketball,
Mhm.
how was the groundwork laid for you in Indianapolis?
Oh man, it was. Indy is a big city, much bigger city than what I was used to as far as where I came from, and getting to getting to know yourself in a city and place that you had never really been outside of visiting. I learned real quick, that if you are in a position to where you can connect with people who are about the same things you're about, you really can get farther, just by those connections. And I was let me see, I was trying to figure out, who I was. I'm in my 20s, trying to figure out who I was, and I knew I loved to sing. Music will always be my first love, so I was thinking in that vein, like, you know what, let me just focus on singing, focus on that. And so I was doing the American Idol, auditions and America's Got Talents, and going here and there and trying to figure that out too. Until I reached the point where, again, I just connected with the right people who heard my voice, who wanted me to be a part of what they had going on.
Right.
And so that's how I was introduced really to the music community. People like Doug, Doug, of course, with Jazz Kitchen, um, Stacia, Murphy, just so many people that are intricate. I mean, even from the jazz community, being able to just connect that groundwork was humbling. Was humbling because again, I didn't know, anybody until I started to pay attention
Mhm.
and then go from there and just make connections and make connections and it really blessed and changed the course of my life.
When did you pivot? Let me go back. Were you musically successful to your degree?
Um,
Because success comes in, people measure success with different ways. So this is your standpoint. Were you musically successful?
I would say, according to me, yes, because I grew up a shy kid. I was a shy kid. I was a loner, pretty much still kind of that way. But I was because to be, I'm the type where I like to be in the background
Mhm.
so that I can learn
Mhm.
what it is that I don't know
Right.
by seeing things I've never done before, right? That's usually my take. And so when I was a part of those bands, which were, great bands, played with great musicians, and being, really pushed to the front, it was like there were many times when I look at videos that I have, and I was laughing on stage, dog. Like, I was literally laughing on stage sometimes because I'm like, how am I here? I'm like, how am I the front man of something when I really wanted to be in the back so I could just
Right.
learn all I could learn and then go from there. But yeah.
What was one of the most inspirational moments of your music career that you remember the most? Because you say you like to be in the back, you like to observe, but looking at your career,
Hmm.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest, motherfucker, you wasn't gonna stay in the back too long. That's not where you
That
meant to be.
apparently.
Yeah. So what part of your musical career really stands out that you felt broke that mold and you had to start realizing that maybe in the back observing isn't where you need to be. You need to be more of a groundbreaker
Yeah.
or a leader.
Yeah. I would say I've been blessed and privileged with opportunities to open for singers that I look up to. One of them is his name is Bilal, R&B, you know, any note singing art like Bilal. I was like, yo, I got to open for Bilal because I used to perform with shades on a lot because it was my way of hiding while in front of people because
Now I
because
know
I was
this.
just
Now I know
like,
the secret with them glasses.
man, I'm like, and sometimes, as secure as I am and as confident as I am, those glasses, it allowed me to see better. It allowed me to see people because if I could see you in the dark, then I can see who you really are. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that moment was again opening for Bilal, Raheem Devon, Music Soul Child, and just performing at the Vogue,
Whoa,
the
whoa! You
Vogue.
opened up for Soul Child,
Yeah, yeah. This was some
dude. That
years
had
ago.
to be like, wow.
Yeah, yeah. It really was. And indie, when I tell you, when you rock with indie rock with you, and the love, man, the love was so felt. Like I watch those videos even now, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like indie was with it. But as you mentioned, there was definitely a pivot, there it came playing Harpo in The Color Purple, which I didn't plan on doing that even.
How did you wind up getting that opportunity?
Um, her name is Joyce Licorice, man. She's been in indie doing it big, doing a lot of things for a while, and she gave that opportunity to me, which again I turned down three times because number one, I ain't got no theater background, so I'm like I'm like I'm like she was like, you know what, you would be a great harpo one day, and I said, no. I'm like, I'm like, I'm like, don't he get beat by Sophia? I'm like, nah.
Yeah,
I'm a 230-pound man. Like, what? I was like, nah. I was like, but what I can do is sing in the background because there's singing going on. It's like, hey, let me hear what let me see what's up.
right.
But I was like, nah, let me just sing some background stuff and I'll be cool because again, that mindset. Let me sit in the back and just kind of watch and see everything.
Right.
But like you said and pointed out, you was like, yeah, being in the back ain't really from this
Right.
because I honestly tried that, but somebody had the role of Harpo, and they were, I think they accepted another role somewhere else with another production, and then me and another guy who was the understudy for Harpo with theater experience, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's going to go to him. And they had us kind of sing a song that Harper would sing,
Mhm.
and he got the part, and I was like, cool, all right, can y'all leave me alone now? I'm like, let me just, you know what I'm saying, let me go to the back, you know what I'm saying, let me just watch. And then that guy, he got picked up by another production, and then they came back to me, and they were just like, and I was like, I'll be damned. I was like, I'm like, listen. They're like, you're the only one left. And I'm like, man, all right, whatever. Let's do it, man. And it that changed everything.
When you say it changed everything, I guess this was the pivoting point to actually your acting career from this moment on. What was
It
you had no theater experience at all, right? Going into this. So
no.
let me move forward a little bit with this. You have no theater experience, but this is a play that went on for how many weeks here in it was here in Indiana, correct?
Yep, yep,
For
yep,
how
it
many weeks did
was.
this how many weeks was this play running?
Gosh, I think it sold out for several weeks. Like it was I think at least like a couple months maybe, I want to say. Almost 2 months.
How difficult was it for you to now you was dodging bullets, you was dodging bullets, and then all of a
Matrix on
sudden,
it.
yeah, you're doing some matrix shit. Now all of a sudden you got to come to the table, but you have no theater experience. How did they work with you to more importantly, how did you work with yourself to now accept the fact that this play is going to be running for several months, several weeks? People are paying to come and see it. You have no
Yeah.
experience. You have the vocals, but you got to play this. How do you prepare yourself?
The company did a real good job. Again, Joyce Licorice, she had people in place. And one thing I remember her saying very vividly is, she was like, "Yeah, I know you, Mr. Sexy R&B singer, blah blah blah, whatever." She was like, "Leave his ass at the door. He can't come here." And I was like, "What?" She was like, "Yeah." She was like, when you're stepping into a role, you're taking on
The
who
character.
that character is.
Yeah.
And light bulbs just started to. I had so many light bulb moments, but it was like, oh, I was like, so I do have to get my ass beat. okay. I was like, well, all right, that is in the movie, but as you know, movies and theater, they're a little different,
Yeah.
So the preparation for it was definitely strenuous. It was eye-opening, and again, it was humbling because I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm like, this is not my world. And what a lot of people don't know is we rehearsed so much, excuse me, but opening night was the first time that we actually ran it
Really.
smoothly. Opening night, a lot of people don't know, opening night, that was the first full rehearsal. Like full rehearsal.
And I guess a lot of people, I've done some theater. I did like Little Abner and Phantom of the Opera, and I know the vigorous stress that is, and then you're nervous on that first opening night because not the fact that you're really just nervous, but now you got to see what the critics just said about your performance as they write it up because that's kind of like going to tell the producers either we need to change something or blah 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 because
Hmm.
that's just how theater is.
Yeah.
Oh, the other part of that question is you had to leave old boy at the door, the R&B singer.
Hmm.
Did you do research? Did you do your research on the character to and when you did do the research on the character, how difficult was it for you to get into character to really feel this guy? Because like she said, old boy had to stay outside. You got
Yeah.
to become this character. You got to get beat up. You got to do everything that Color Purple says during a time where
Mhm.
black people weren't treated so good. You got to go into
Yeah.
the character now. How
Yeah.
difficult was that for you? How did you prepare for that role?
The preparation for that was really just remembering the movie so well. And then it made me zero in on him specifically. Because, when you watch the movie, you're watching all of the moving parts. And so for me, I had to zero in on the fact that how fragile Harpo was, how emasculated he was. He wasn't considered like a man, right? He was trying to find his way, building the juke joint, even with his side piece and Sophia. He was a little all over the place, from what I gathered. But where he came together within himself was that he at least had an idea that that's who he was. And so the difficulty um, really was just me again leaving myself day by day at the door because it's like no, like I'm strong, I'm a man, I'm a no, I had to reduce myself to his way of operating, his way of thinking, his way of moving, even his way of loving, really. And then I had to find myself, in the cracks and crevices of who he was, and really do a dance of this is this is who I am, but also I can see myself in the way that he functioned. And I think that's what kind of helped me I think deliver the part. And they had some tweaks and things they added to I guess maybe make it a little sexy because they had a brother they had a brother shirtless in suspenders carrying wood. So it was like and then I had to pick Sophia up and walk with her. So we made it a little sexy. I don't know what Oprah will say about that.
Now, when you get done with this musical, you get other opportunities. So let's talk about your first role, and I believe the first role was the movie "Gambling with the Life." That's 2016. I believe it was the first major
Hmm.
movie for you. What was that like? How did that role come about for you, and what was your role?
Um, they had me play an MC, at a club, and it really just it reminded me of just the MCs and the DJs and those the folks I've seen in indie do it, And I really just kind of tapped into that. Shout out to Carmen. Um, got to touch base with her, but she definitely gave me a chance. And even that allowed me to still be in the background, right?
Right.
To learn, because again, it was a world that I was just unfamiliar with. But music and movies and TV shows and all of they have a correlation. They're all connected in some way, shape, or form. And so um, yeah, I was definitely thankful for that, because I think that was around the Empire window of time, if I'm not mistaken.
We ain't gonna get into the Empire yet. You got too much
Okay.
on this. You got too much on this plate right now. I got to start taking some of it. I got to start eating some of this
You
stuff.
got it. I know.
So
Appetizer.
you still got to learn theater. You got to
Yeah.
read your lines,
Yeah. Oh God.
and with movies, you got to read your lines. There's a difference between the two. One is repetitive
Hmm.
all the time.
Hmm.
The movie industry is totally different because you have to also be able to feed off of the other actors and so
Yeah.
forth, and
Yeah.
be able to pivot at any time. Let's talk about this next movie. This had to be deep. I know we're jumping ahead of time because you did some before that, but I'm curious about this Gangster's Daughter Part 3 2024.
Hmm.
You've had some experience now because you did movies in 2019 and so forth, and
Hmm.
what was this movie about, and what was your role in it, and were you part of part one and part two, and why did they feel the need to seek you out for part three?
Um, you know, part part three. I got a chance to play. I don't know why I'm always in this position of playing the police. I promise I ain't 12, y'all. I ain't the police, but I got a chance to play, a cop. And this movie, it's deep, and I wish I was a part of one and two, man. Shout out to Lee Sullivan, for definitely giving me a shot. But man, I wish I was a part of one and two. Thankful to be a part of three. That was a small role, because there's so many moving parts. Like the mind of Lee, is like, man, what's going on up there? Because there's so much creativity, and the how can I put it? Because I'm trying to summarize all three. Um, the deception, um, the hunger and desire to stay on top, to keep an organization running. That you don't want to be touched. But as we know, the more you are moving like a boss, and the more you are, gaining power. I don't want to say in the underworld, but in the other world, it's like you can have your corporate self, but when the nighttime comes,
Yeah.
the nighttime comes, is like that other side of the game, is going to get the attention, of everybody that either wants your spot, or they want everything that you got. And so Gangster's Daughters 3, that was something that just
How difficult was it for you to play the part?
no, it wasn't too difficult. It wasn't too difficult. It was I would say, if there was difficulty, it was me wanting to, play more. I'm like, give me some more time, please. But nevertheless, man, it was a great thing to be a part of. Yeah, so shout out to them. That was shot in Atlanta. Atlanta love, man.
Let's do Preaching Lies 2022.
Hmm. Hmm.
What was that like for you? You getting a lot of. I'm trying to understand what it's like, man. I mean, I haven't gotten any roles yet.
You ain't got him yet, but stay connected. I
I
got
got
you.
a I got a feeling I got a feeling hanging out with you and Val, somebody's gonna give me a leading role in
I,
something here.
and it'll be a done deal.
But what was it like for you when you played? What was this movie like for you?
Preaching lies. Shout out to Courtney. You know, and Denora Boone. They really put something together that number one challenged me in a way because it was more of a leading role. You can have different roles and all that, but this was a challenge that that was needed. I'm driving, so it's a 8 hour drive from
Yeah.
Indy to Atlanta, and I'm rehearsing the whole drive down. Man, I'm driving, I'm pushing it just to get there, call time, on time. I think I came a day early, to go over, rehearse and do all the things because as you were touching on, reading your script and your lines in a movie compared to theater, there is definitely a difference. And so when it comes to a movie script or even a TV show script, you have to know what everybody else is doing
Yeah.
so that, if there's going to be reactions or whatever, like you gotta know the whole movie. You gotta know the whole script. If somebody burp or fart in the other room, you gotta be like, "Oh, that's my cue for to slap somebody over here." Like
And
it was
Izzy,
it was a good challenge.
you know what? You know what? You brought that up as a key point. We had William Paul Young on the show who wrote The Shack, and he said exactly what you said. As they were shooting the Shack, something out of the ordinary happened that wasn't even part of the script.
Mm,
Butterfly came out, real butterfly came out and got on this lady's hand, and they had to stay in character because, like you said, what they gonna do? You already don't spend money, and
yeah,
it worked out beautifully on the set. So let's go
yeah,
back to what you said, and the reason why I shifted these movies like this. A lot of these movies that you've been a part of so far, even theater
hmm,
made you come out in front, but theater is totally different than movies because
yeah,
theater is repetitive. You're reading the same lines and you're doing the same
yeah,
thing over and over again, so it becomes repetitive.
hmm,
Movies is totally different. You're reading the script, and if something goes wrong and somebody says something different, you got to stay in the character and so forth. But let's go back. So
hmm.
now you get a position, and let me say this: you drive pretty slow because I can get to Atlanta in 7 hours.
You got a fire in the back seat. What
Yeah,
you?
I know it's 8 hours, but you drive pretty
Look,
slow.
look,
when you
rehearsing, man.
when you get to Chattanooga, you need to be rolling, dog.
Is it?
But let
Means he's
me
almost
let me
there.
say this. So now you're forced to almost have a more leading role. How did that change your the way in which you looked at your career now? Because now you are the major focal point. There's no more sitting in the back
Yeah.
and observing what's going
Yeah.
on. What
Yeah.
was that like for you now?
Yeah. That reminded me of a good friend of mine, Brayley Evans. She she was like, yeah, there's no more background roles for you. She was like, there's no more. That challenge, honestly, it humbled me, but it made me rise to the occasion because I also forgot, and I didn't tell Courtney this, who directed it, Courtney Arlett. I, I, I forgot that when you film, I think TV shows and movies, I think they film backwards.
Yeah.
So I thought so I'm rehearsing for my 8 hour slow ass drive to Atlanta. I'm rehearsing and rehearsing, rehearsing, but I'm doing it based on how you read a book. Next page, you know what I'm saying? And so when it's my time to do a scene, and I mean, I'm ready. I'm like, let's get to it because I'm like, if there's one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna know my part, and I played Detective Kingsman, so I'm like, I'm gonna know my part. Like I'm gonna get in here. Man, they were like, all right, this is the scene. Boom, let's go. Detective, where you at? Boom, boom, boom. And I was like, the hell? I was like, uh, we're not doing that. They're like, no, we're gonna. And I'm like, mm. And when I tell you it messed with me mentally because again, I'm preparing myself one way, forgetting. that, yeah, you probably should have. So you have to do that. And so when I'm doing the scene, and I'm doing my best not to let it show on my face, but it actually worked for the scene because again, once you rolling, when you're doing an independent film, especially
Yeah.
now, if it ain't Hollywood money and all of that, then whatever. But once you're rolling, that's time and money.
Yeah.
So you want to do justice to number one, your role, but respect to those that got you there. You know what I'm saying? So I was saying my lines, and in my head, a couple of my lines sounded similar to the line after the line I was supposed to deliver, and I was man. I'm not quick tempered, but I was like, hell no. I was like, I don't know my line. I'm like, oh my God. And then they have somebody that reads your line,
Yeah.
they call it out, if you don't know your line. And so it reached the point where I was like, line, and they would call it. And I'm like, all right, yeah, cool, whatever. Got it. Let's keep going. And so the frustration showed on my face, but they still filmed it. They still put it in the movie, but it fit. I say that to say that it fit because I was dealing with a dirty ass preacher who was in a jail cell that I had to talk to.
Okay.
And so at first I was probably using a certain kind of tone or anything like, whatever. But with that frustration
It,
of
it
me
fit.
going,
It fit the purpose.
man, it fit, man. I'm talking nostrils flaring. I was just like, and I was like, I was pissed, but it was like I would be pissed at him because he's a dirty preacher who had a dirty past, and I was actually a detective who, was a man of the cloth.
Right.
So, that frustration, that angst, that anger, it it fit the scene. And I was like, I look back at it when I do, I'm just like, I was like, I was
Did
like, I can't believe.
did they know? Did the producer know that you didn't know that they do the scenes from the back to the front?
No, no, I couldn't let them know that I didn't know.
Okay. But you
I,
now realize, how did you know? How did you find out? Because that could have made or break you at that moment.
oh my gosh. And when you get that call too from the director, and she's my good sis, but I call her the female Tyler Perry because I promise she's a genius. But she called me and was like, on set, she was like, "What's up? You good? You straight?" And I'm like, oh God. I'm like, I get that call like, she probably knows, but she didn't, she didn't call me out like that. You know what I'm saying? She was just like, what's
Are you
up? You
good?
good? Let's keep it rolling. And I'm like, oh God. But it worked.
So let's go
It
with
worked.
this. Let's go with this next movie. Uh let's go with pretty big.
Oh, pretty for a big girl.
Yeah, what's that? Were you in the background on that one too?
Yeah, I did some background on that one. That was another project of Courtney Arlette. She wanted to highlight not just that big girls are pretty or
Mhm.
that there are pretty big girls, but she wanted to highlight the fact that any one of us could be looking for love and wanting love and desiring love.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what size you are, but she wanted to highlight that there's some men that like them thick. It's some men that like some big girls,
Yeah.
and I'm one. But it was a really great project to be a part of. That I got more time just to really observe because that was again one of those positions where it was like I could be in any role,
Mhm.
and sometimes, and uh, with directors and casting and all of that, they can look at you and be like, "I could see you being this. I could see you being this." So sometimes you're almost an anomaly, and they're like, "We're gonna do this with you," but also it's like for me, it's like even if I'm not in something, it's like being on set, there's nothing like being on set. There's nothing like what you do, right?
Right.
There's once you shut them lights off and you go on home and doing 100 miles per hour, it's like there's nothing like it. So just to be a part of that altogether was it was a dope experience.
You mentioned a few directors that you've worked with, and you do a lot of stuff down in Atlanta. As a young as a young actor, what were some of the valuable things that you learned from like Courtney and the other directors and producers, even in theater, that you've taken to the next level, which was what we're going to talk about with the next topic is the empire thing. But dealing with people like Courtney and the color purple plays and so forth, what did you take? Who were some of the most big influencers for you as far as directing?
Oh man. Of course, Lee Daniels. And I have to bring it home to Courtney, and Joyce again, Licorice, and Leo Sullivan is Lee Sullivan. It's like seeing your people, like up close and personal versus, you know, just looking at maybe a celebrity or well-known, director, producer, and all of that. But seeing people that you actually shake hands with, seeing people that you actually, they're bringing you on board for something that was generated and created from their mind.
Mhm.
Um, Man, that to me is it's just a standing inspiration. Of course, I personally want to get to the Ryan Coogler level because I plan on my vision is to direct,
I was getting ready to
and
ask that. Do
produce.
you plan to direct now? And
I,
why do you plan to direct? I mean, it's funny, man. Look, I'm busy. I'm gonna tell you, I like doing the podcast, but you know what I
Mhm.
like doing more than anything? I like producing other people's stuff.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I can see the vision. Like, look, this is what you should be doing here.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah.
why all of a sudden you want to do directing? I'm curious.
You know what really, honestly, what really made me want to do it was I got a chance to do some background work on uh, what was it? The Don Cornelius story
Oh
um,
wow.
on BET. I got a chance to do that when that series came out. I got a chance to do some background work on P Valley.
Oh
You
my
know,
God. Are you
so
serious?
so when you're again up close to this stuff, you really just get to see like the chaos and craziness to put something together
Yeah,
for an hour of you and I's enjoyment of a show,
right.
but it's 20 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? It's all these moving parts, man, and it's just like I'm like, yeah, I want this chaos. I'm like, I want it. Number one reason I want it is because um, I ran into a lot of kind directors,
Right.
and producers. Because again, when you're there all damn day,
Yeah.
you you paying attention to something. And
Yeah.
so I was watching, you know, I'll wait for you to get to it, but I was watching Taraji and Debbie Allen and Terrence Howard and Felicia Rashad. Like I was watching
Right.
everything. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter whether it was that or working in Atlanta or whatever. Like I was just watching and I'm like this is definitely something I want to do.
What did you learn when you watched somebody like Terrence Howard, which he's such a phenomenal actor. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I know now with the so-called Hollywood stuff, but you're not going to deter me from the fact that here's a brother from Cleveland that really
Yeah.
knows what he's doing. What when you watch these guys
Hmm.
and these women perform, the ones that we know,
Yeah.
what do you take away from that? And do they share information with you to help you elevate? Because we hear a lot of times that these celebrities are so full of themselves that they don't really want to give even a thread of advice to the young and upcoming actors. I don't
Yeah.
sense that from Terrence Howard at all.
No, no. I think number one, I think you have to respect the person and their presence because they used to tell us as background, along, like, hey, leave the celebrity actors alone. Don't mess with them. But I found out that when it was time to eat lunch for all of us, or whatever, lunchtime, um, we really, for the most part, we were around them. And so, I've never really been a starstruck type because I'm like, man, a man is a man is a man. A
Right.
human is a human. You know what I'm saying? So, but being able to see, and like I said, that approach with respecting one's presence, um, I was able to just understand. I caught on real quick. Can't just be running up to someone like, hey, yeah, nah, because they're in character.
So you mentioned them being in character,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I was saying that there was a scene in the Denzel Washington movie where he had the lowrider car that was going up and down, and
Oh
uh,
yeah.
he played he did the line about I'm King Kong, and that just went out of nowhere, and even the
Oh.
director was like, where in the hell did that come from? So I can get it. And you know what? I never thought about that. Those guys are on the set, they're working, but you get to see them out of character. Like, have they ever shared
Hmm.
anything with you out of character? Being themselves.
Yeah. I remember getting a chance to talk to one of the sons from because there was three, as far as Empire, and I think his name is Andre. Um, he was the probably the taller guy,
Yeah.
but he was, man, to this day. Not that I've run into any craziness, but I would say, man, he was one of the nicest dudes like I had like ever met, and really the message he was sending to me was just, no matter what, or who you meet, especially on set, people are going to remember you by how kind you are or not.
Mm,
And I was like, hmm. And that's honestly, that's really the root. If I ever get a chance to talk to him, I'll say, really that was the inspiration to me wanting to, one of the inspirations to me wanting to be a director. Because if you think about it, you are you're balancing every person there to a degree,
mm,
especially the actors, the talent. You're directing them, and at the end of the day, you want to be able to work with people that are not only professional,
right.
but it just in general, like you can just be like, you know what, I'll kick it with dude.
Mm,
Have a drink or, just kick back with whoever. And I kind of looked at that when I saw Miss Huxtable in person for the first time. And I ain't saying nothing to her because that's royalty, right?
Yeah.
So, but when I saw her take a moment, um, once they had like a break in between scenes, um, she took a seat on a bench outside of where we were filming, but we're inside, a building, and to just see this regal, you know, woman operating in this energy of like, yeah, I know who I am, but this is the humanistic side of filming all day
Right.
and running lines all day and all of that. And she just took a moment to just close her eyes, sit on that bench, and just zone out for a second. And I remember just sitting there going, okay, okay.
I wonder how much heat before we wrap up. And you know, Izzy, thanks so much for taking time out to come on the show. I know you're busy and
No, I
and
appreciate you for having me.
and stuff. I really appreciate that. But on some serious things, I know we watch these productions. We watch the Power. We watch um, uh, Empire. We watch all of these things. Um, there has to be. Have you ever? How can I put this where it makes sense? Sometimes the stars can be almost like the quarterback of the tail. We witnessed this with the 50 Cent and
Hmm.
Omari, where Omari goes and hey, I was the quarterback. If it wasn't for me, blah blah blah, I wouldn't have went there.
Hmm.
I kind of like disagree with him saying that because I watched Power, and I mean
Hmm.
everybody on there was good. I get it. It was about ghosts. Don't get me wrong,
Uh-huh.
but let's get real. Tommy,
Uh-huh.
to me, Tommy stole the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a lot of there was a lot of hidden talent
Hmm.
in that 50 Cent balled out. And I'm not taking
Yeah.
nothing away from Omari. He was great. I hated
Yeah.
that they killed him off.
Yeah.
But to go back to you get to be on Empire, who made its debut long before the Power series.
Hmm.
Two-part question: how did that opportunity happen for you? And how how as it and you getting ready to be a director, that's hard to take these mega talents, and with talent, let's get real,
Yeah.
there's envy, there's the drama. Are
Yeah.
you really ready for that?
Yeah. I'm not ready now. I ain't got the money. Hell no. I ain't ready now. But no, no, to the to the first part. What got me the opportunity, again was The Color Purple. Joyce Licorice, she not put us, all together as far as The Color Purple, and I believe she had to reach out to Oprah or Oprah's team or company or something like that for us to even be able to do it.
Hmm.
So it can't that happened, and I believe Joyce. I can't remember what she did, but she was like, "Hey, you're going to be getting a call," you know. And I'm the type of person where I don't really talk on the phone a lot because I'm like, there's no telling what I could be doing. So I'm just like, I'm
Right.
never really on the phone. Is texting me is easier, but she was like, "Hey, you're going to be getting a call. You're going to want to answer," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And then of course it was a number, I think Chicago number or something like that. And I'm just like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they're just like, "Hey, we're doing this TV show. You want to be a part of it or whatever?" And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, so some more acting stuff. I'm like, I wasn't really convinced then because I'm like, I just kind of got my feet wet with this theater stuff. And so
Right.
once we were done and wrapped with that, it was like, hey, here's the opportunity, in Chicago. And I'm just like, what? So I was just like, you know what? I was like, let me trust God on it. I'm like, I've been rocking with you, so let me trust God on it. All right, cool. Go to Chicago, and I remember my first day, and I have a picture of it still. I don't know how I got this picture, but I remember my first day, first time on set. It was an all white party. This was the scene, and Taraji and the main characters, they were like walking in basically, and they're all white and just kind of strutting their shit, right?
Right.
And they needed people to be like photographers and videographers and all of that. And I remember I was behind a non operating camera, and I don't know why the hell I did that, but but I was operating a camera that basically wasn't working. But for them, it looks like we're taping, recording
Right.
stars walk the red carpet, and so I remember just looking through the lens. And I don't know if I've ever really even told this story, but I remember looking through the lens because the eye hole, it worked,
Yeah.
even if that even if the
If
camera
nothing
was
else
dead.
works, that worked.
Yeah, that worked. But and I just remember looking through that lens, and I was going, and I just saw flashes of my future. I saw
What?
flashes and images of where I was going. Because again, no Hollywood background, acting, theater experience at all. Now I'm a whole fool all by myself, but I just saw those flashes and those moments. And not really, they weren't super clear, but I could see me, through that lens. And I was just like, oh God. I was like, okay. And then I tried to put people on. You know what I'm saying? I was like, hey, all you folk in Indy that are actors and blah blah blah. I'm like, I was sharing all the information they were giving us as a part of the
Right.
like the. I was like, hey, here's this stuff, y'all. Here, they
That's
looking for
great.
this. They want stand-ins. They want this. They want that. But yeah, yeah, man, that was a time. That was a time.
This is where do you see yourself now? You so many doors have opened up. You look through the lens of the camera and
Mhm.
clearly see your future is bright. You want to get pass information on to everyone, not just Indiana,
Yeah,
anyone, but you still want to pay homage to Indiana.
yeah.
You own one of the biggest platforms when you're talking about empire. You've appeared in great independent films. Um, what's next for you?
What's next is, that's a great question. I still intend on, acting, of course, because I'm trying to be the next Denzel, Denzel Lindell. Let's let's
Everybody's trying to be
put that in
Denzel.
the air.
I don't even want to be Denzel. I just want to
Yeah,
play in a. I want to be next to him and do a movie with him. You know what I mean? That's all.
that's it. That's it. Before he retired, because he getting ready to retire. But no, honestly, this next chapter, this next journey for me, is still going to include acting, creating, all the things. But I actually have I have a launching of my T-shirt brand and business. That states, let's love Black women, and that launch is actually tomorrow.
Oh
So
snap!
I've been
Okay,
gearing up. I've been gearing up for that. I'll be sure to send you and your crew some shirts, man.
yeah,
But that's going to be the next chapter. But also just getting my feet wet more as far as content producing, and just preparing myself for the vision that I have as far as directing and producing, and really getting behind people that I've worked with, and people that have brought me onto projects,
hmm
um, because you can't just you can't just say it. It's going to take some work.
right.
It's definitely going to take some work, and but yeah, man, that's I would say that's what's next. I'm getting ready to, like I said, just hit Chicago, and a friend of mine who's an international travel chef, Chef Joanne Thomas. She's looking to have a cooking segment, show, and she's doing big things, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right, is this my
Is this your
this
next?
is
Is this another page to your
yeah, it's like,
Hollywood
is this
script?
it most likely is, because it's like, all right, what do I need to do? Because I need it to look good. I want it to
Yeah.
look good, and be excellent.
So tell me about before we wrap up. Tell me about the Love Black Women line. Where did that come from, and what's the purpose behind it?
Oh yeah, man. The mission and where it came from was, when I had Facebook, before they kicked me off. I guess I was getting a little too much attention, or I was talking about Black love too much.
Uh,
um, you know, it really came from a conversation, because what I used to do was I would make a post and say, hey, if you have a Black owned business, or if you are, a Black owner of whatever business, put your information out on, in the comments, because just because people might be coming to my page for me, or to see what I'm saying or whatever, they're not always coming to see me. Some folk
right.
are just nosy, but if they're gonna be nosy,
Let
if you
them
got
see
a Black
something.
business,
Yeah. Let them see something.
let them put yourself in here. And then the lady, bless her heart, was just like, well, what if I'm not, Black or whatever? And I'm just like, you know somebody Black.
Right.
Like, I'm like, somebody Black, and they just might have a business. And so that conversation with that lady at the time, was, I think she wanted it to go a certain direction. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, nah, it ain't gonna go that direction. But I left off, and what came to my mind was, let's love Black women. Where Because why not?
Okay.
Not, you don't need a reason, but you got a reason.
hmm
Some Somebody you got a Black mama, you got a Black grandmama.
yeah.
Like, and plus, at times like this,
Yeah.
it's time.
Hey,
So yeah, so I just kind of I created that, and like I said, that's the mission. But it's not just let's love Black women. It's let's love Black men too, because, and I ain't gonna get into my Malcolm X shit, but the division or the divide has been there for so long,
yeah.
that it's created an internal war,
Right.
right? And so it's like, it's crazy that I have to say let's do this, right? When
It should be natural.
it's like it's like you do. You can love anybody you want to.
Right.
I've dated all types,
Mhm.
but there ain't nothing. There ain't nothing.
How can the viewers get a hold of this? I know it's just launching, but is there an
Mhm.
email, a phone number? How can they get the product?
Yeah, they can get the product. You can follow me, on my Instagram, my IG. My handle is Mr. underscore attitude underscore adjuster, because I adjust attitudes, especially if you don't come correct. I'm gonna help get you together. Like it'll be all right. Again, that's at Mr. underscore attitude underscore adjuster on IG.
Yeah. When are you coming back to Indianapolis? When are you going to bless this city with your presence again?
Um, it might be today. I'm in Nashville now.
Okay.
It
Really?
might be today. Yeah, it might be today, and then Chicago might be what's it, tomorrow. Yeah, Chicago might be tomorrow or Sunday, one of the two. But yeah, if I pull up today,
You got my number.
I
Just
got you.
call, say you're in town. Let's grab something
I got you.
and all that kind of stuff. But once again, thank you so much, Izzy, for making an appearance on the show, sharing such great information. You guys make sure you subscribe, like, and follow. Support the call, support the actor, support people in general. All it
Yeah.
takes is a click of a button, pick up the phone call, in his case, text, some way of
Yeah.
communication to make a
Call.
difference in this world. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton show.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.